Hello. How are you? Hope that you are doing well. So today I wanted to talk about fear, vulnerability, and courage. How is that for a light topic of conversation on a Thursday afternoon? But it's something I've been thinking a lot about, and I just wanted to share some thoughts with you and just kind of talk about what fear is, because I think it's something that we all experience. It's part of the human condition, and for good reason. Obviously, it keeps us safe. There are lots of reasons that we, you know, should be afraid sometimes. But the problem is that our brain's idea of what is keeping us safe is not always in tune with reality. Because and I'm sure that this is not new to you, but historically, our brain has protected us from physical danger. We're talking back like, when people lived in huts or caves and they hunted, and there was an ongoing threat of physical danger. Our brains were, created to keep us safe in those situations. Things have changed in a lot of ways. They sometimes, obviously, we still have times where we are at risk. Our physical safety is at risk, and I don't want to minimize those dangers at all. But what I'm talking about is the fear that keeps us from going after what we want, because we are afraid of being vulnerable and exposing ourselves emotionally, putting ourselves out there. And so we have this fear that our brain thinks that we're not safe, and that translates into us holding back from taking risks that might allow us to create these things in our lives that we want. And that's when it becomes a problem. And I think a lot of the time when we're feeling that way, we look at other people and we think that they just don't experience the same fear that we do. We look at someone who's doing something that we wish we could do, and we think like they don't have the fear that I have. I could never do that. It must be really easy for them. And we just tell ourselves that, it's not for us. But the reality is that a lot of the time, the people that we're watching are experiencing fear or have experienced fear, and they've just either learned how to let it go, or have just decided that they're going to feel it and move forward anyway. And they've just decided that whatever it is that they want is more valuable to them than being scared. And so they're going to either figure out a way to not be scared, or they're going to be scared and they're going to move forward anyway. Now, there are things that are scary to one person and, not scary to someone else. So if you're a very extroverted person, you may think nothing of striking up a conversation with a stranger. For someone who's more introverted, the idea of that might be terrifying. And that is sort of just based on kind of how we're wired. So we all have things like that aren't scary for us. And someone else might look at it and think, oh my gosh, I never do that, and vice versa. So certainly some things come easier to us than others. But a lot of the time when we see things like that, it's that someone's made a choice that they are going to work through that fear and do the thing anyway, and that they're going to be vulnerable in some way, and take a risk, because there is no courage. If you're going to be courageous and you're going to be brave, you have to be vulnerable. They are mutually inclusive. You cannot have one without the other. So anytime that you look at someone who looks like they're being brave or showing an act of courage, they are being vulnerable in some way. And that's for you to do as well. If you want to be brave and you think about it, and you're feeling scared, you're feeling vulnerable, and you decide to do it anyway, that's an act of courage. And you should just, I want you to recognize that in yourself and give yourself credit for it, even if things don't work out the way want them to. You still put yourself out there and you took that risk, and you know, tried, and you maybe, you failed. Which really, all that is it didn't work out the way you thought. And hopefully you take a look at what it was and you learn from it and you try again. But you are, an act of courage, an act of bravery. So I want you to think about what is holding you back from doing, and what would you like to do or feel that you need to do. Some things that we feel we need to do that are so scary, and we are in fear, and we just don't want to take the risk, even though it's costing us a lot, because we are in pain, whether physical or emotional pain, but afraid to have a difficult conversation or put something out there. We choose to live in that pain instead of facing fear and anyway. And sometimes when we are afraid, don't want to let ourselves know that we're feeling afraid. Our brains can be really and we are having these thoughts. Thanks, Amanda. We're having these thoughts about, like, seem really reasonable and seem true, but really are is, brain's way of talk us out of things. So what you may have thought of, yeah, I really want to start a business. I just don't have the time. There are 50 other things on, and I can't find the time. Or I really want to start to change my habit, but I can't afford it. I can't afford to eat organic. I can't afford to Whole Foods. I can't afford to what it is. Or I really want to say the thing. I really want to put this out there, but upset someone else. So I can't. I just live with discomfort. I don't want to make someone else uncomfortable. I don't want to do that I think is going to make someone else uncomfortable. And sometimes it's close to us. I'm not that, action ever impact someone else. Do, but if we don't have conversations, we never have the opportunity to work through things. And sometimes it's about what the neighbors are going to think. The neighbors like that I'm putting a waterfall in the backyard, and it may bother them. I'm not going to do it. Or, that's an example, but you know what I mean. Or I'm going to think oddly or badly if I make a choice, and so I'm not going to do it. No, I really believe that it's something that I want in life or something I need in life. So we tell ourselves that there are all these really reasons for not to do something. Really, we're afraid. And there are reasons until we really are aware of, I have fear and this other problem, and get really clear on something that's happening. We can make, maybe it's not worth setting someone for something you're not have. That's a choice. Know that choice you're making, to just tell yourself something and not really if it's not, or just ignoring the fact that you actually scared, explore where it's coming from. And also, sometimes choices in the moment are difficult and do cause set people around us. First, we're for other people to react, especially when we're about adults. Not that you do something to hurt someone else, but if you act in a place of integrity and another thing that you need in life, you make a decision, and the person makes a decision absolutely to those feelings, but that's responsibility. When we're about children, they're not quite easy, but there are still things that is you may make around a little difficult for children, even like your partner, have on Saturday, you're like being a babysitter and it's amazing. This is going to make that you're safe, have conversations about it, or their feelings, but at the end of the day, you're going to make a choice because that is best for your life and also for family unit, for your family. So there are just like that, and especially as a parent, the guilt being decision upset children, it's for the for all, and just really clear and that what choices you're fully of moving. So I just want to give you an example of life of, and I went through it. So I was divorced several years ago and was obviously really painful on medicals for reasons, and after it was I I emotionally drained and I need to do some healing. But as I thought I'd meet someone else, give myself an opportunity, I was afraid I would put my I on I meet someone who wasn't the right one, I'd make choices, or I would get my you know possible. And so I I was to put my there. It would have been a lot to just say forget it, get off the table, and um, but it's not to because I want the choice to make and to want to give up the ability because I'm afraid. So I some time to healing. I knew that to for myself and to get on. I contributed. The second I found myself and how I had was an emotion for you know I do what had and myself different and maybe but I the same. I took that it was actually years feel like healed and then was ready to dating and I was ready to do I created an online profile of been through that was like I so over just the idea like either put it and I about just the time of this idea be that was so I talked down a little. I looked here started like feeling like with putting and it or broken whatever and that I could hope gonna have a way. So I did myself. I started on. I really like and fun amazing together. Um, you know, really have. I'm not sure. I fortunate. I just if I done I have about I never I don't would have asked and out so much honestly like that I so and course had to their fears, and then